On Valentine's Day, a husband cooked a romantic dinner, bought his wife a new dress, and had their 3 little kids draw the Eiffel Tower, so the whole house would feel like Paris. By the end of that night, his wife was dead on the living room floor. And while she lay there, he picked up her phone. He called the man he believed she was cheating with, and he sent him a photo of her body. The message was 2 words long: your fault. This is the story of Taylor and Deborah Meyer. And to understand how a Valentine's dinner became a crime scene, we have to go back, long before that night. Because the most disturbing part isn't what he did in one moment. It's how slowly and how quietly it was building. Before she was a headline, Deborah Meyer was a 36-year-old nurse, and not just any nurse, an award-winning one. The kind of person who, her family said, was always trying to help someone in need. Her own mother called her an amazing nurse, an amazing mother, an amazing sister. Her obituary remembered her contagious laughter, her bright smile, and what it called her limitless love. She was a mom of 3, and she had a best friend, Emily. The 2 of them basically built their adult lives side by side. They planned their weddings together. They timed having their kids together. The zoo, the play dates, the ordinary, beautiful machinery of a happy life. Remember that life. Hold on to it. Because the man telling the story afterward, the only one left to tell it, would try to make this about a dress she didn't appreciate. It was never about a dress. Taylor Meyer was 35. To the neighbors, to the outside world, the Meyers looked like a normal family in southern Indiana. A house, 3 kids, 2 jobs, the usual. But inside, the marriage had been straining for a while. By Taylor's own account to police, things were not good between them. And here's what matters. In the months before Valentine's Day, the cracks weren't loud. No police record of him beating her. No dramatic public blow-ups. From the outside, it just looked like a couple going through a rough patch. And that's the first thing that stops me. As a regular person looking at this, we're trained to think domestic violence always looks violent. Bruises, screaming, broken doors. But a lot of the time, in the beginning, it doesn't look like anything. It looks like a guy who needs to know where his wife is. A guy who gets quiet and cold instead of loud. The danger isn't always in what you can see. Sometimes it's in what's tightening underneath. Then, in January, 1 month before Valentine's Day, Taylor saw something he could not let go of. A photo. Deborah, holding hands with another man, a coworker, at a casino. We don't know everything about that photo or what it really meant, but we know exactly what it did to Taylor because he told police himself. It put a strain on his marriage. In his mind, it became proof, a loop that played over and over. From that point on, he was watching. He wanted into her phone. He wanted to know who she talked to. I'm not a psychologist, but you don't need a degree to see the pattern, because it's the same one in case after case. It wasn't the affair, real or imagined, that consumed him. It was the not knowing, the locked phone, the information he couldn't control. For a certain kind of man, a partner having a private inner life feels like a theft. And once he decides he's owed access to all of you, every closed door becomes an act of war. So on February 14th, 2025, Taylor decided he was going to win her back, and he went all out. He turned their home into Paris. He bought Deborah a dress. He arranged a special dinner. he had their 3 kids draw little Eiffel Towers to decorate the house. A grand romantic gesture, top to bottom. Later, he'd describe it to detectives in his own words. "It was the hardest I've ever tried." And then Deborah came home. And she didn't react the way he'd scripted it in his head. Police say she seemed distant, unimpressed. To him, ungrateful. Think about what that gesture actually was. It wasn't a gift. It was a test, a performance with one required response. She was supposed to melt, to forget the photo, to fall back in line and prove he was still the hero. And when she didn't perform on cue, he didn't feel sad. He felt insulted. That's the tell. Love can survive a partner having a bad night. Control cannot. They argued after dinner, and then Deborah did something completely ordinary and completely her right. She left. Just for about 20 minutes, to get some space. But to Taylor, those 20 minutes weren't space. They were a confession. In his head, she'd gone to him, the other man. When she came back, he demanded her phone. She refused. By his own account, things turned physical. He claimed she hit him first. And that refusal, that one word, no, is the hinge the entire night turns on. Here's the part everyone gets backwards. People assume a victim is in the most danger when she's scared and silent. The research on domestic homicide says the opposite. The most dangerous moment is often when she pushes back, when she says no, when she walks out the door, when she stops shrinking. Because to a man whose whole identity is control, her standing up isn't an argument, it's the ground moving under his feet. And some men would rather destroy everything than feel that.
What followed lasted, by the prosecution's account, 20 to 30 minutes. Not a flash, not a single swing. He strangled her. He beat her with a wine bottle until she was unconscious. He went to the kitchen, picked up a knife, and used it. The medical examiner would later count the wounds to her chest. 40. Their 3 children slept upstairs through all of it. They were not harmed. They also had no idea their lives had just ended and begun again in the same hour. But it's what Taylor did after that turns this from a tragedy into something almost incomprehensible. He picked up Deborah's phone. He called the man he believed was her lover, and he said, "It's your fault. You wanted to ruin my marriage and tear my family apart." He texted 2 of her closest friends, a family group chat. He told them what he had done. And he sent them a photo of her, lying on the ground. Why? That's the question that won't let go of me. If you truly snap, you panic, you hide, you run. He did the opposite. He announced it. He performed it for an audience. And to me, a regular person, that says the whole thing was never really about her at all. Killing her wasn't the finish line. The finish line was making the other man know who was stronger, know who won. He turned a human being, the mother of his kids, into a scoreboard. That's not a man overcome by heartbreak. That's a man feeding something much colder. One of those friends was Emily, Deborah's best friend. Emily later described the morning she found out. She woke up to her daughter crying. She'd left her phone on silent, face down, the one time. And when she finally looked, 30 missed calls, the messages. She had to call Deborah's sister, Sarah, and it was Sarah who told her that Deborah was gone.
A friend who'd gotten one of those messages called 911, saying they'd heard Deborah screaming for help. Police arrived and knocked. No answer. When Taylor finally opened the garage, officers said he was aggressive. He wouldn't cooperate. They forced their way inside. And there, they found Deborah. In the interview room, Taylor Meyer didn't fight it. He confessed. He walked detectives through the night, and when he talked about the Valentine's dinner, he didn't talk about her. He talked about himself. "It was the hardest I've ever tried," he said. "She just didn't give a damn." Read that line again. His wife is dead. His kids have no parents. And the thing he wants the detectives to understand is how hard he tried. In court, they have a term for the leaking truth of a guilty man: consciousness of guilt. But as a regular person, what I hear in that confession is simpler and worse. Even at the very end, he still thought he was the victim of his own story. Taylor Meyer was charged with murder within days, held without bond. He pleaded not guilty. And then Deborah's family, her friends, and her 3 children entered the part nobody talks about. The wait. Almost a full year between the night she died and the day 12 strangers would decide what it all meant. His defense had already chosen its strategy, and it was a strategy with a long, uncomfortable history. In January 2026, the trial began. Deborah's best friend, Emily, took the stand first and told the jury about the life the two of them had built, before describing how she learned it was over. The defense made one core argument: that this was a killing done in the heat of the moment. Under Indiana law, a killing committed in sudden heat, a true sudden loss of control, is a lesser crime than murder. If the jury bought it, everything changed. The prosecutor, Jeremy Mull, walked the jury through the difference between strong emotion and a sudden, unexpected explosion of rage. And he laid out a timeline that didn't look sudden at all. A suspicion nursed for a month, the demand for the phone, 20 to 30 minutes of violence, a man who paused to make a phone call, to send texts, to take a photo. That, the state argued, is not a man who lost control. That's a man making choices. And this is why the crime of passion idea matters far beyond this one case. For generations, the law, and honestly, all of us, handed men a quiet discount for killing a woman if she'd provoked them. She cheated. She left. He just lost it. It put the dead woman on trial for her own murder. So when a jury looks at a month of suspicion and a half hour of violence and says, "That is not passion. That is a decision," that verdict echoes far past this courtroom. It speaks for every woman whose killing somebody tried to blame on her. The jury didn't need long. After about an hour and a half, they returned. Guilty of murder. Not voluntary manslaughter. Not a tragic snap. Murder. At sentencing, Deborah's family finally got to speak directly to the man who took her. Her best friend Emily called him a narcissistic psychopath who only cared about himself. And then she did something unforgettable. She counted to 40, out loud, in the courtroom. One number for every wound, so he would hear exactly how many chances he'd had to stop while he was doing it. Her brother Albert told the court through tears that less than 5 hours after police woke him with the news, he was inside that house, cutting the bloody carpet out of the floor where his sister had died. Then he spoke to Taylor about the children. "They will never know your name," he said. "They will never remember your face. They will carry her last name and never again be burdened by yours." The judge found that Taylor showed regret, but no real remorse, and he handed down the maximum: 65 years in prison. Deborah was 36, an award-winning nurse, a mother of 3. Her kids lost their mother that night, and they lost their father to a prison cell the very same night. They just don't know it yet. Whenever a story like this surfaces, people ask the same question: why didn't she leave? But that's the wrong question, and asking it puts the blame back on the woman who's no longer here to answer. The better question is, why did the warning signs look so small? Because they always do. It's almost never a punch first. It's the friends who slowly disappear, the family who say, "We just never see her anymore," the need to read the phone, the cold that replaces the warmth. The world tells us those are just rough patches. Sometimes they're a countdown. So if your gut ever whispers that something is wrong with someone you love, a sister, a friend, a daughter, don't wait for it to get loud. By the time it's loud, it can already be too late. You don't have to be certain. You just have to make the call. Deborah Meyer deserved to be more than the way she died. She was a nurse who spent her life helping people in need, a mother, a sister, a best friend, with a laugh people still talk about. Give her the last word, not him.